Well, the first night kicked off of the January 6th committee, and I don't know if anybody caught any of it. It was on TV, it was on the internet. The House committee investigating the January 6th attack on the Capitol began laying out its case on prime time on Thursday, strongly suggesting that the conspiracy to keep Donald Trump in power was led by the outgoing president and aided by his followers, including the Proud Boys and the Oath Keepers. Committee Chairman Representative Bernie Thompson, he's a Democrat, and Vice Chairwoman Republican Liz Cheney oversaw the night's hearing. It included a lot of videotape testimony of a few people close to Trump, including the former Attorney General Bill Barr and ex-president's oldest daughter, Ivanka. They both said they accepted that Joe Biden had won the 2020 presidential election, but Donald Trump doesn't necessarily agree with that. He took to Truth Social, where he's allowed to speak. I don't think he's back on Twitter. He said, "So the Unselect Committee of Political Hacks refuses to play any of the many positive witnesses and statements, refuses to talk of the election fraud that took place on a massive scale, and decided to use a documentary maker from Fake News ABC to spin only negative footage. Our country is in such trouble."
Yeah, there's the problem with the committee and their investigation is they have two issues. One is they're saying simultaneously that Trump incited the crowd, whipped them into a fever frenzy, and then they marched to the Capitol and destroyed it. But they're also saying that we knew that this was going to happen days in advance. So you're kind of making two arguments. You're going, we knew this was going to happen. We knew they were planning this thing. And then you're going, he made it happen spontaneously, which is a kind of a competing arguments.
They did speak to that a little bit. The now sort of infamous, what do you have to say about the Proud Boys? Him saying, stand back and stand by. And then one of the Proud Boys tweeting, standing by, sir. And then them taking that on, Reddit or 8chan or whatever and being like, you heard the man, we're standing by, we're standing by.
They're definitely trying to make as much hay out of this as they possibly can. The other problem with the committee is the question, or one of the questions that they're not addressing is why wasn't there National Guard there when you guys had this information? So they got the information days before the 6th. And I don't know, FBI and whoever expressed concern. So there's emails going around. And then there's a meeting with Trump and high-level people saying, you guys need to get National Guard over here, like 20,000 or more, or not more, but less. And Nancy Pelosi and the mayor, Bowser of D.C., said no. We're not doing it. I don't think
the government dropped the ball.
They don't like the optics.
Sure.
They didn't like. So Trump was the guy going, National Guard, get the National Guard to go to Portland and shut down CHOP, get the National Guard. And everyone else was going, we'll handle this. We don't like the optics of the Guard showing up. So what the Trump people, the Trump side is saying, look, you can talk all you want about inciting a riot. Let's go back to before January 6th when we were saying get the National Guard and you guys told us to fuck off. But you're not covering that part of the event.
But there's a lot of I don't know what we call them, tweets on Truth Social that Trump posted. How come none of them? Well, I guess because it's not that incendiary. None of them address that. It's all like, weakling Bill Barr, dipshit so-and-so. Like, he doesn't even bring that up.
I don't know why, but his people are definitely bringing that up, which is Nancy Pelosi's in charge. She could have got the National Guard. She was warned to get the National Guard, and she said no. And that's their argument,
But if Donald Trump really wanted National Guard, he could have put National Guard up there, right?
No.
Because he puts it in other places, right?
No, she's in charge.
Really?
The mayor and Nancy Pelosi give the final okay on whether you can do the National Guard or not.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, as I understand it. And then
I thought the president would have right over everybody.
He would have put them in Portland. or wherever else during the riots, during CHOP and
he has the
whatever
red
else.
button to nuke the world, but he
But not
doesn't.
to, not to put National Guard in?
Yeah, I guess.
He's the commander-in-chief. I was assuming he could deploy troops where he wanted to.
So Nancy Pelosi is the Speaker of the House, and she's in charge of the Capitol, along with the mayor of D.C., and that's their jurisdiction. And I don't think he can just command it, and he may. We can try to figure it out. Also, I heard a guy talking about, what if Trump sent the troops to the Capitol? The optics of it would have been, Trump has called the army to. Remember, there's all that talk about he's not leaving. He's going to get the army, whatever.
To be dragged out of there.
The optics of him sending troops to the Capitol, I think, was probably something he factored in. But it is the decision of Nancy Pelosi and Mayor Bowser to give the green light.
That's it. So the Speaker of the House and the mayor of whatever city we're talking about.
Well, it could be a special D.C. thing, too.
It's a special D.C. thing there, but like he was going, send all the National Guard to California and send them all to Portland, and the governors were going, fuck off. We're not doing that. So maybe, I don't know exactly what it was written on the Constitution, but if he says send them to Portland and the mayor or the governor of Oregon goes, no, then they don't go. That's what happened during the riots before that.
And in Nancy Pelosi's defense, she's been a little busy the past few days getting her husband out of a DUI. So don't drag her into this.
She is addled. But so what the Republicans are saying is fine, do your committee. Let's talk about what led up to it. They're not talking about any of that.
Well, there's
Pelosi is off limits in terms of what. No, they're not. The committee's not allowed to talk to her about her and what she knew.
That's insane.
Well, it's not really. So here's the whole thing. If you want to put a committee together, you put the committee together under the auspices of so it never happens again. So if you want to do it and you want to go, we can't let this happen again, we need a committee. You go, okay. So then there's two factors. There's what happened during the event, whether it's an air disaster, a disaster at sea, or a disaster at the Capitol. You go, what happened during the disaster? What led to this? And then you go, what happened before the disaster? Like in the days leading up, could we put a fence up? What information did we know? Could we put guards out there? Like, how would we avoid, like an airline? Like, what was the pilot error? But then what was the weather report before they took off? Like an element of before. And so what the Republicans are saying is how about all the before stuff? And they're going, no, we're just focusing on the after stuff because, well, you're assuming they want to get to the bottom of it.
Well, that's
but they don't want to get to the bottom of it. They don't want Trump to run again.
But if you're treating this like a disaster, January 6th like a disaster, and it was a disaster, then why aren't you treating the committee like you're studying a disaster?
Because the disaster would involve the Democrats.
That's what I'm saying.
So they're not studying it that way.
But I have all the respect in the world. It just, I'm talking surface because I don't know the finer points, the nuts and bolts. But for Liz Cheney, who dared to say, yeah, I'm not really down with this guy, and then got ousted. I mean, she seems, talk about reaching across the aisle. She's still a Republican.
Well, there was Jim Jordan and Jim Banks who were supposed to be on the committee who were like, we want to look into what Pelosi knew and what Bowser knew, and we want to know about the conversations before the 6th, and they went, you're off, and you're off the committee. We'll replace you with other Republicans who are a little more like-minded.
Are you suggesting, this would be interesting, that Pelosi, that this is a little more nefarious? Like, yeah, bring them. Let's fucking have it be a disaster, and then it'll look like it's on Trump's watch.
Well, this is a committee to ostensibly go after Trump, not find out what went on that day.
Right.
They have that information.
So do you think Nancy Pelosi's like, yeah, let it be a disaster? And then who will we pin it on?
Now we're getting into weird things like this. Like, gas is $7 a gallon. Do they want this?
Yeah.
Does they really want it? And then there's part of me that goes, I think they do, because that'll get us out of our cars. Like, what do they Like, I never think it's that nefarious. I think Trump said, let's get the National Guard. And then Pelosi went, what's Trump want? He wants the National Guard. Fuck that. And then we had a disaster, and then they went, Trump caused the disaster. But Trump and his people, or maybe they're not doing a good job on Twitter, are saying, what about before the disaster?
Well, if he
And that's
wanted
where we're at.
National Guard, why, after the attacks happened, he didn't call him right away? Was that kind of like a fuck you, Pelosi? I tried. And
I don't
now...
know. Yeah, once it's on, it's just on, I guess. But I don't know. And there were also there was DC, there was Capitol Police, and they were like unprepared. And there's a bunch of memos and leak stuff. And the FBI found out that there was. Because they monitor shit and they heard the internet and they knew a million people. I mean, just look at it at face value. You got 1 million nutty Trump voters who think they were robbed out of the election showing up, right? And
Not
then you
too
go,
far from the
and we got a
Capitol.
couple of emails from the FBI saying there may be some Proud Boy activity and some disgruntled campers. What do you even need Trump for at that point? You go get the fucking National Guard and put them around the Capitol.
Well, yeah, because these weren't exactly discreet discussions, on Twitter or whatever, like, the president's inviting us, everybody. You got it, sir. And like all this stuff. So this wasn't hard information to find.
This is fresh off of all the riots we're having, and they never liked the National Guard there. There was always like an optics thing. Like they told them to stand down. So
Does that look like you're policing your own? Like the government is
the man is
holding down the
gonna slap you and pull you out of the motorcade.
You never heard like Nancy Pelosi going, we need to get the National Guard to Portland, Oregon, and shut the CHOP community down or anything. They're like kind of not into the guys in the uniforms. Yeah,
I just did this is the only information I have, so I don't have too much other than this, but I did a Google News search because I wanted the latest information, and there's a story from Newsweek that the Washington Post and USA Today debunked the claim from Trump that he called Pelosi or contacted Pelosi. That apparently didn't happen, but I'm sure
he had a meeting. And
I'm sure there's differing versions.
No, well, first off, you can't believe USA Today even anymore with their fucking angles on everything. There was a meeting. We have a tape of it somewhere in me. I think I talked about it with Mark Garagos and Reasonable Doubt. So they had a meeting. The story is they had a meeting about a high-level security situation that had nothing to do with January 6th. And the meeting was Trump and some of his high-level guys and General Milley. The guy who looks like the cartoon character.
I remember him.
He looks like Hanna-Barbera drew a general. Like crazy guy.
Okay.
And they were all in there talking about this high-level security, whatever. And at the end of the meeting, Trump said, and before we leave, we should get national security, or we should get security for the 6th rally. And so those 5 guys in that room testified under oath that they had that meeting and that Trump said, we need to get National Guard in for the security. Now, those guys testified in front of the 6th committee. They just, I don't think they got into it or they brought it up. But everyone was sworn and no one's denying it. They had a meeting. So I don't know if he contacted Pelosi. He's probably lying about that. But the meeting existed. So says people who were sworn under oath that they did. And I don't think Milley denies it either. But it's somewhere. I don't know. Dawson, you find that story.
But just because they had a meeting didn't mean they reached out to anybody. Because Trump, if there's one side, if Trump knew they were coming, hey, we should maybe get security about this. And then it's kind of like, all right, I said it. Well, I'm good. You don't need to contact anybody. I'm on record. I said it in front of y'all. So,
No,
whatever.
It doesn't mean he reached out to anyone. What it does mean is that he was probably looking to avoid a riot. So saying we accuse you of instigating a riot is a weird thing to say to somebody who said days earlier, maybe you should get some guards here. You see what I'm saying? It
I'm
flies in the face of like you saying
Also,
you're planning on robbing that bank. And then I go, I told you days earlier to get extra security at the bank.
Right.
It's just
I
a
get
theme
what you're saying,
thing.
but I also feel like some people, like people in position like him, is like, look, I put it on record. It said, No, I don't care. Like, if they talk, I don't
Yeah.
care.
Motive is hard to-
It's noted. It's in that. So if this does, because remember, he has high power lawyers around him too. Anything you say is on record. So then they can go back and say, well, he said it. So obviously he didn't want it to happen. I just think the problem with the whole political world, right? The hypocrisy is ridiculous. If the Democrats want something a certain way, they'll paint it a certain way, and the Republicans want something a certain way, they'll paint it. It's just it's unbelievable where we are. Is where if a Democrat says they like a Republican idea, they're shunned.
They're out.
And vice versa.
Yeah.
And I just hate the way
I
the
agree.
world is.
I'm just saying, watch the proceedings of the January 6th committee. See if they delve into what happened before January 6th. I predict there will be no discussion about that. That involves Bowser, and that involves Pelosi, and that doesn't involve finger pointing at Trump. That involves looking in the mirror, and they will not get into what happened before the riot,
that
the
goes back to the
insurrection.
hypocrisy. Like they're just looking at one side and not both. Look at both sides and say, look, we're obviously something happened on both sides where this communication fell apart. Let's fix it. And I think I'm going to use the whole. I think the American people are tired of that, where it's just all they're doing is finger pointing now, and nothing's getting done. It's just.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I think, like, how many more nights? There's like maybe 4 more nights.
Is it all like nighttime, prime time?
It seems, I think it's all evening, but I have to look at the schedule. And not that they were doing this to entertain me. It was really boring. It was really
So why
boring.
they put it on prime time?
They're hoping for a big gotcha moment, I guess.
I think it's just for sound bites.
It's
like for political commercials.
The midterms are going to be a shit show for Democrats, and they're like going, "Here's what we got. Here's what we got."
Yeah,
that's what's going on.
But I mean, I'm surprised TV stations would put it on in prime time. I guess so.
It's a big deal, but it was really boring.
Maybe they won't. I don't know what the ratings were.
I'm curious. Anyway. I'm sure they'll take a nosedive because this was all like videotape discussions, and then like a police officer, someone from ABC, just speaking quietly and politely, and it wasn't like fireworks or anything. Can we do a hard pivot, please, and talk about Rebel Wilson?
Yes.
She's testifying for the committee?
That weight for her, not for anyone else.
That's the B story. You have not been watching TMZ. She has a very special person in her life. She wants the world to meet them. TMZ reports that she has come out and she wants the world to meet her lovely girlfriend. In a post Thursday, she says, "I thought I was searching for a Disney prince, but maybe what I really needed all this time was a Disney princess." And she's there with a very lovely lady. The woman is Ramona Agruma. She's a clothing and jewelry designer in LA. And they are out there all gussied up, and this is her new Instagram post. And while it's unclear how long they've been together, they were spotted in LA during the Super Bowl together, and then they went to Cabo in March to celebrate Rebel's birthday.
I wish I was that fluid sexually.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like I was having dinner with Chris Morgan from Fast and Furious and Hobbs and Shaw and Bird Box and everything.
Sure.
I love that guy. He's the greatest guy in the fucking world. He's so nice. He's so smart, so successful. He and I got divorced kind of about the same time.
And you found love
He lived
over a martini.
Grace and Frankie!
He lived in my neighborhood.
That's beautiful.
He loves me.
Yeah.
I mean, it would be so fucking awesome if we
easy.
just were blowing each other,
It
would be
each
awesome
other's
if you were
dick
blowing-
all the
yeah.
time.
So efficient.
You could
you know-
carpool. I mean, that's amazing.
Do you know this is the premise of Grace and Frankie?
I have seen a few episodes of that.
That is what happens. The dudes leave their wives for each other.
It is weird that it's 2022 and there's a weird corny sitcom on
I know.
Netflix that is sort of hackneyed and written like a bad 80s, that's something you remember from your childhood kind of sitcom.
I would say we are out of problems in a good way if Grace and Frankie's a normal, mainstream sitcom.
Yes.
It's a good mile marker.
But I wish, again, that I was fluid. Michael, you're
Oh, you're hitting
You're
on me
in
now?
a loving relationship,
Okay, yeah.
but what
Yeah.
I'm saying is...
I wouldn't cheat on my wife for
I'm
you,
just
Adam.
saying, I wish I could just slide on over.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well,
My
who's
God.
stopping you?
you know, God.
You know what's stopping?
And let me tell you about January, the riot, not the insurrection. But let me say this. Every fiber in my being, sadly, my mind is willing, but the dong is weak. You know?
Hold on.
I'm going to stitch that on a doily.
I could take up with Dawson maybe for a long weekend. I don't think it'd be a real, a real relationship.
You
but
guys
I could have some
cruise
fun.
together.
That would be weird, him
Learn it.
screaming out your name, though. He's got a deep voice.
You got to learn what you don't like, too, in the bedroom, you know? That would be Dawson's teachings. You know what I mean?
It's a phase.
I'm getting a two-top vibe, though.
Eat a few prefab burritos.
Top vibe.
Drink a little Cutty Shark.
Yeah.
Trucker hat strewn around the room.
Help with your block wall, your boulder wall in front
Giant
of your place.
zucchini.
You know what I mean? I'm just saying, I wish I had that fluidity. I'm saying, I think women can kind of go, yeah, I'd like to check that out, and they can
Seems
do
like
it.
it.
Guys can't just go, that sounds good. No, we just
Are
can't
you just?
physically
Well, I
do
think
it.
they can. It's just more acceptable right now
Yeah,
in the world
societally.
for one to do it, to test.
I
it.
don't think I don't know any guy that could just kind of will himself over to
You
the
know
dude.
one, and his name is Randy Wang.
I wasn't going to
Randy
bring it up.
Wang's- Yeah.
He went gay for like
Happily married now.
Oh, very,
To a dude?
very
To a
rare.
Lovely lady.
Very
who
rare.
used to be a dude.
Very
Brian.
rare.
Just a fair question.
No.
Anyway,
Cis female. But look at these two lovely ladies.
Rebel Wilson.
I love it. I love
Yeah.
it. She lost a lot of weight.
Well, she did. She lost around 80 pounds, and we sort of have one of those before and after pictures. She made a lot of health changes. And you know what? We've talked about this with guys a lot, but we've never really talked about this with women. She said in an interview, she told her agents and her managers, like, I want to make like a real weight change. I want to make a real, and they're like, no, don't do that. Why would you do that? Why would you do that? Because
Right.
they're seeing their, I was going to say cash cow.
Cash
That's
cow.
not what I meant.
know. Yeah,
Yeah.
that popped into my. That's the wrong word.
Yeah, so they were freaked out, but she is getting roles. She seems happy.
She ain't eating them.
Oh, boy.
Is she? But is she? I mean, maybe. Look, I don't want to side with them, but I haven't seen. You saw her everywhere 5 years ago.
Yeah.
I'm not seeing her everywhere now,
She
but
just
maybe that's
had-
just
Maybe that's
me.
a choice.
She
But
has a
had a
Netflix movie
rom-com.
out.
she had
Yeah.
that marathon movie where she ran. She was a runner. in
That's
it.
not her.
Oh, that's not her.
That's a lookalike.
Oh,
A
she's
white black
great.
simile.
A white black simile.
That was Brittany Runs a Marathon. Her name is something else.
She
but
was
it's
in
not
22
her.
Jump Street. She's
Yeah.
fantastic.
Yeah.
I just feel sorry for her ex-boyfriend because he used to bang the fat version of her, and then she looks spectacular now, and his buddies who haven't caught up with him in a while have to be going, things are pretty good in the bedroom now, right? And he's like,
I wouldn't know.
she's on to different gender.
Ask Aurora, whatever her name is.
All right. Who's Aurora?
I don't. That whatever her girlfriend's name is.
Oh, Aurora, yeah.
Ramona.
I feel like if you make jewelry or you make cupcakes or something, you got a better shot at one of these hotties.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
hairstylist.
They're never,
Self-selecting
yeah, it's
group.
never like, what's your lesbian friend? She's in insurance.
Yeah. You
It's
know what
never that. So she makes jewelry and
She's
then we
an
have,
adjuster.
yeah, yeah.
It's anybody you have to spend a lot of time with. Like with jewelry, they making something custom
Yeah.
for you. You have to talk to them.
It's also,
It's whimsical.
It's
Yes.
not, your success is not really measurable.
Right.
When you go, I'm into jewelry,
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
I have my own line of
Right.
cupcakes. You know what I mean? People go, oh, good for you,
I'm the
good
city
for you. But
comptroller.
we don't know
Yeah.
what you possibly make a year. We can't really argue with it.
I just moved that jade set of earrings.
That's right.
Great.
Yeah, and no
Good.
disrespect to Ron Swanson, but it's like a guy being like, I'm into woodworking.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, celebrity chef.
right, exactly.
Celebrity Chef is good. With lesbian, she's into jewelry, and what else does she do?
Clothing.
Oh,
Designer.
and that's another thing
Yeah.
too. That's cheating.
What?
That's you going. Oh, what am I into? I'm into eating pussy and shopping. Why would you like to hook up? You know,
I'm
you-
intrigued. Tell me
Cuddling
more.
and I'm
I
a good
make-
listener.
I make jewels. Look, I'm not gay.
Okay.
But
Understood.
if I met a dude and I was like, what do you do for a living? And he goes, I make tools and collect vintage cars. I'd be a little gay for him. Like
Right.
it would suck it, you know.
Yeah.
Versus, I audit for the IRS.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
You don't
No-
want to
no
hang
one
out
said
with
that.
that.
Actually,
Yeah.
But you're a chick. She makes clothing and
Right.
jewelry. So who's going to be? You're going to be dressing me next time I hit the carpet.
Yeah.
Speaking of hitting the carpet, should get down there,
Jesus.
baby. All right, let's bring it home.
you got it. I'm Gina
And on that
Grad,
night-
and that's the news.
Yo, stop slapping bitches.
That was the news with Gina Grad.
All right, well, Emmy, my thing says Geico, but I don't know. But we should try to work that
What
one
says
out.
Geico?
I think
rundown.
my rundown says Geico. Or in your rundown, probably
I
says
just called
it as
the
well.
rundown.
The rundown says Geico, but I don't know if
There's no spots, sorry.
no spots there. All right. All right. Well, Michael Yo, everyone.
Yeah.
I knew it was a good idea to have you sit in the whole show.
It was so fun. Thank you.
Michael Yo, I never thought. Very funny stand-up special, and it is free on YouTube. So check it out. Live shows coming up West Nyack and Blue Room in Springfield, Missouri. All coming up through June, middle of June through the end of June. So check that out. Me in Denver, Colorado, Comedy Works South. That'll be June 24th and 25th. Sonny's going to be working the merch table.
Nice.
And until next time, it's Adam Kroll, Michael Yo, and Gina Grad, and Paul Bryan. Say it. Mahala.
Can y'all explain something to me? What is punk rock compared to alternative? What was the
How
difference?
dare you?
Well, I don't know. Like I knew. Like I said, Stone Temple Pilots,
Right. Nirvana, Pearl Jam.
So
Pearl Jam.
let me ask you, Jay-Z, Smokey Robinson, same guy, or is it a different kind of a genre of type of black?
It's a fair
music?
question.